Demar Derozan is one of the most talented and versatile scorers in the NBA, and the addition of the three ball this season has helped the Toronto Raptors to one of the best records in the East and a shot at a top 2 seed once again. But Demar hasn't always had the three ball, and he hasn't always been an efficient NBA scorer. These skills have been added season by season, as the 6'7" shooting guard honed his craft to become one of the best Toronto Raptors of all time. But just how good can Derozan become? Can he become the greatest Toronto Raptor in franchise history? And can he lead the Raptors back to the Eastern Conference Finals and even past it? This video will cover all of these questions, as well as giving a history to Derozan and the events that have shaped his life to this point to become the player that he is today. Demar Derozan was born and raised in Compton, California, and the sunshine and basketball would keep Demar out of trouble and on the court. He would attend Compton High School and managed to not only fight his way to a spot on his varsity team in his freshman year, but into the role of the team's star and best player, as he averaged 26.1 points and 8.4 rebounds a game. His numbers would dip in his second year, but he would establish himself as one of the best players in the nation as he led the team to 2 championships and won himself the MVP in his senior year. This would result in Demar being ranked as the 3rd best player in the country by Rival.com and 6th overall by Scouts.com. As a result, he attracted a lot of attention from college programs and could have chosen almost any college to attend. But Demar would commit to attending his home college, USC, over other strong programs including Arizona State and North Carolina. Derozan's year at USC would be quite up and down, with some incredible performances and some average ones mixed through. But at the Pac-10 tournament he would find form and drop 21 points in the semi-final and 22 points in the championship game to win the tournament for USC and the tournament MVP for himself. So Demar had made a name for himself in college, and many scouts were intrigued by the hyper-athletic shooting guard who stood at 6'7", had a wicked mid-range game, and the beginnings of the strong footwork that would carry him in the NBA. But concerns over his three-point range would begin somewhat early, as Derozan had only shot 16.7% from the shorter college three-point line. But the Toronto Raptors would see past these woes, and it must be mentioned that three-point shooting was not as yet highly valued as it is now, and thus they selected Derozan 9th overall. In his rookie season, Demar would start in the majority of his games, but was worked slowly into the offense, taking far less shots than the gifted scorer was used to. He was overshadowed by Chris Bosh and the former number 1 pick Andrea Bargnani. But in his final game of the season, Demar would shoot 9 of 11 shots against the New York Knicks and score 24 points in a victory. This was a career high, and an indication of things to come, as in the off-season just after, Chris Bosh would lead the Raptors for the Miami Heat, and the future of the franchise was up in the air. The Raptors would go all in on Bargnani and Derozan, and the two would put up the most shots for the team as Bargnani had his best ever NBA season, averaging 21.5 points a game. But Demar himself would average 17.2 points a game, and in the back half of the season he was featured even more heavily by Toronto and began to drop 30-point nights, showing further glimpses of the star that he would become. This trend of scoring would continue over the next few seasons, but Derozan wouldn't add a three ball to his repertoire and struggle with the passing aspect as well, averaging only 2 assists a game in his first 4 seasons. But this turned around in the 2013-2014 season, and part of this can be credited to the arrival of Kyle Lowry, Demar's closest NBA friend and teammate. Lowry had arrived the season before, and the two had shown great initial chemistry, but they would properly mesh together in their second season. Derozan would make the All-Star team for the first time as he averaged 22.7 points and 4 assists per game, and helped the Raptors make the playoffs for the first time since the departure of Chris Bosh. Demar would struggle to find consistency in the playoffs, and the Raptors fell to the last gasp of Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and the Brooklyn Nets in 7 games. These struggles were indicative of Derozan's in the playoffs, and whilst I think the hype that he is a choker in the playoffs are way overblown, there are some merits to his struggles in the postseason. But this isn't due so much to Demar choking, I think it is more due to playoff defenses, game planning, and making Derozan uncomfortable over the course of a 7-game series. The lack of a three ball simply means that teams can sag just a little bit more comfortably off Derozan, as well as go under screens and wall off the paint for him to attack. Combining this with his lack of passing experience, and teams have forced Derozan into taking tough shots and making tough passes, resulting in inefficient games with high turnovers in the playoffs. But Demar has realised this, and has been working on adding the three ball to his game over the past 3 off-seasons. and whilst I doubt he'll ever become a lights-out three-point shooter, the addition of even an average three-ball would do wonders for Derozan and the Raptors. And this season, his three-point shot has been much improved, shooting a career high in attempts on 32.3% shooting. But the most important thing for me has been Derozan's self-awareness with his three-point shot. He knows that he isn't the best three-point shooter to grace the NBA, and when his shot isn't falling from three, he will put it away for that game and affect the game in other ways. Plus, Demar just isn't pulling up from anywhere on the three-point line. He has clearly worked on knocking down shots from both wings and the right corner of the court, and hardly ever shoots three from anywhere other than these three very specific spots. And when he does go into his old school mid-range attack mode, he is an absolute joy to watch. And sometimes, as a fan, it is incredibly fun to put away the analytics tinted glasses and just enjoy the magical footwork, tough shot making, and athletic attacks to the rim that Derozan plays with. Many players around the league have said that Demar has the best footwork in the NBA, reminiscent of other tall shooting guards in Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan. And whilst he isn't anywhere near the level of player that those two sit at, his game in the post and off the dribble is awfully similar to them. Kevin Durant, another incredible scorer, has even said he thinks that Demar has the best footwork in the league and loves watching the kid from Compton go to work. And Derozan himself is aware of this, stating in an interview that it is an honour to be a mid-range shooter and carry the banner of former greats and an archaic way of scoring into the modern NBA. But in the same vein that I love him being a throwback to an era of former scoring, I'm equally as glad he's embracing his passing and three-point shooting of the modern era. His play has really opened up the court for the Raptors, and Dwayne Casey also appears to have moved on from his isocentric playbook and incorporated a more pace and space style of offense that is working wonders for the Raptors. Both Lowry and Derozan have more space to operate, and Ibaka and Jonas Valanciunas are both finding form, has helped the Raptors to a strong record to start the season. Plus, their young bench is one of the best in the league, with Jakob Poeltl, CJ Miles, Pascal Siakam, and others combining to outrun, outshoot, and outwork opposing benches. This is probably my favourite iteration of the Lowry and Derozan Raptors so far. In the past, the team would try and grind out wins with Demar and Lowry taking isolation possessions, and whilst this was effective in the regular season at destroying bad teams, it all seemingly fell apart in the playoffs when teams could just lock in on the two All-Stars. But now, I think they have a much better chance of making serious noise against other teams in the postseason. At this stage of the season, they'll likely match up against the Cavaliers in the second round, unless the Celtics fall off the top of the standings. And I think that the addition of OG Anunoby will make this series slightly more interesting, as the strong versatile wing should be able to give LeBron some problems for stretches, with his length and lateral quickness and elite defense for a rookie. But even if this Raptors team can only take a few games from the Cavaliers, I still think they'll ultimately lose, and Toronto and Demar will find themselves ousted by LeBron James once more. And whilst this would be surely frustrating to repeatedly go up against an all-time great and top 5 NBA player of all time, this period of play is still the most successful in franchise history. Yes, even more so than the Vince Carter-led mania of the late 90s and early 2000s. This team has made the playoffs 4 seasons in a row, as well as the Eastern Conference Finals, and have made basketball hugely relevant in Toronto once more. The people of Toronto and Canada have embraced the team, and the stadium is packed almost every single game, and huge rappers such as Drake now rep the city and team worldwide. This cannot be ignored, and could lead to a second wave of young Canadian kids who love basketball. The previous era of Vince Carter inspired Canadian kids such as Andrew Wiggins, RJ Barrett, Jamal Murray, and Kelly Olynyk to pick up hoops and help spread the sport worldwide. So who knows how many more stars this era of Toronto's success will breed. And if the success continues, can Demar actually end up as the greatest Raptor of all time? He already has a fantastic case for being so, as he leads them in games played, points scored, and is soon to take over steals as well. Plus, he will likely end up in the top 3 for rebounds and assists as well. Simply pure statistical dominance for one of the youngest franchises in the NBA. And Demar has at least 2 more seasons with the Raptors on his current contract, and as a result should extend this statistical dominance. But the fans won't remember the total number of points. They'll remember the picture-perfect jab steps, the amazing sequence of fakes, moves, and spins on his pivot foot to go alongside his floaters, up and unders, and beautiful fadeaway jump shots. While he might not have the highlight reel of Vince Carter, those shots go alongside a wide variety of extremely impressive dunks of his own, and there is no doubt that Derozan is one of the most entertaining scorers to watch of the last 5 years. If he can take the Raptors to the Eastern Conference Finals this year and have even the slimmest shot at making the NBA Finals, then he will have cemented his legacy as the greatest Raptor ever over Chris Bosh and Vince Carter, and as one of the best players in the league today. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, be sure to leave a like as it really helps the channel a lot, and subscribe for more NBA videos in the future. And leave a comment below of what you think of Demar Derozan and the Toronto Raptors.